When large jobs require moving massive amounts of snow, get the work done quickly and efficiently with the Western Pile Driver and all-new Pile Driver XL pusher plows, both featuring Trace Edge technology. These pushers scrape down to the pavement with an advanced cutting-edge system that has independent 2-foot sections that move vertically, oscillate, and trip. Get more jobs done faster with the Western Pile Driver lineup of pusher plows.
Mike Bott from Frost Solutions, one of the owners of the company. What we do is provide a mini weather station to give you a tailored forecast to those particular locations so you know where and when and what to do in those parts of town. You know there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different ways that people can experience tremendous value having a technology like this.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey with your host, Dave Westcott. The Entrepreneurial Journey is a weekly podcast that streams live every Tuesday at 9:15 a.m. Pacific on Dave's YouTube channel and LinkedIn profile. Now here's Dave with this week's episode.
Good morning and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey. I'm your host, Dave Westcott, and I have with me this morning special guest, Elaine Pasqua, CSP. Elaine is a New Jersey native. Elaine has moxie and connects with people faster than you can say, forget about it.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. I like the way you did that so much better.
Because I've been trained for forget about it.
Forget about it. You do got the Italian thing going on. That's so good.
Of course.
Elaine has been traveling the country for 28 years, energetically speaking to corporations, associations, 32 teams across the NFL, NBA, and MLB, hundreds of universities, and our military service members. She works with organizations to create cultures of respect and optimal health to obtain peak performance, collaboration, and success. Her keen knowledge, ability to connect, and sharp humor make her keynotes highly interactive, transformative, and positively influential. Elaine loves to share her entrepreneurial skills that helped her along the way. And I have to say that hearing you speak in person at the CIMA Leadership Conference last year was absolutely fantastic. I loved what you spoke on. It was very touching. It was very well done. I love the way that you kicked it off with it was hot out and you had
105. It was 105 that day.
That's right. And you came in with a winter jacket on.
My North Face jacket, hat and gloves.
Hat and gloves. You were speaking the language. And those unforgettable, out of all the speakers, I would say if I had to remember one thing, I think that I would remember, I remember that. And that ties me back to the presentation. I think that's really an important thing that you bring to the table. Well, anyways, good morning, and thank you for being here.
Oh, it's great to be here. And, it's important to connect with your audience and to learn about them and meet them where they're at and to be able to relate to what they're doing and not just come out and make everything like cookie cutters. So I did this whole introduction about being in bed at night and listening to, having the silence of the snowfall and listening to finally the rumble of the snowplows coming down the street and appreciating the fact that I'm in my warm, cozy bed while all of you are out there putting your life on the line to keep us safe and to get our businesses and get us all up and running again. So it was a fun opening.
It is it is a great industry of people who work really hard. And I would say that in the industry, there's a fair amount of turmoil. And I would say that turmoil today sits around the lack of snowfall. And
yes.
Being at the last symposium and the symposium before and have been in this industry for 20 years. I've never seen more snow equipment for sale online, on social media. I've never seen more companies closing. I've never talked to more peers and colleagues whose businesses are struggling. And I've never seen more impact on snow providers from the drastically increased cost of insurance, the cost of equipment, and just the cost to go to Walmart and buy a loaf of bread. Like, everything is so much more expensive. And I think for those, they call them snow fighters. We call them snow fighters. We are snow fighters out there doing that work. And it is true, risking lives in many situations and keeping lives safe from slip and falls. Because of the lack of snow, I think there's great turmoil in the industry. And I'm just curious, since we kind of started there, what advice would you give the snow provider who does purchase the equipment and keeps up on the training and the safety and is committed to keeping people safe and also earning a living during these tough times?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is that we all want control of an uncontrollable situation. For your industry, you can't control the weather. And we have just been seeing this gradual increase in temperatures, especially the last decade. I mean, I'm in the Philadelphia area. We're now on our 22nd day of over 90 degrees. It's been brutal. You can barely go out. And so, and my industry is really challenged right now, too. Very few of us have recovered from COVID as professional speakers. And then I've had other things that have happened working with collegiate athletes, professional athletes, I won't go into that right now, of things that I can't control that has slowed me down as well. And I think what we all need to do when we go through times like this is learn to potentially shift to other opportunities. So can you go into landscaping? Because I did learn that when I was with all of you at SIMA, is that a number of you had your winter business and then you transitioned into your summer business. And perhaps that's now getting longer as it's as the weather is warming up. So the season for landscaping is changing. But you've got this equipment.
Yeah.
And you've got this expertise in one area, so that means you need to have expertise in both. And I learned to shift. Even now, I'm shifting and working more with associations and working with businesses. And I just developed a new program called Happy, Healthy, Present, Crushing It at Work. And it's all about integrating a holistic approach to health for your own personal self, but also bringing it into the workplace, because we find that employers lose $226 billion every year due to absenteeism. And when people are healthier, companies are more productive. So I've developed that program more recently, and it's been taking off. So it's just learning to look for other opportunities when things don't always go well, because I don't know if it's going to get cold again. That's the thing. We've just been seeing this pattern now going for some time. But you all have so much invested in your equipment and all of that.
It's definitely tough. You are an entrepreneur. You are your own business owner, day in and day out. How many years have you been doing that now?
20. This is my 29th, actually. I'm going up to my 29th anniversary shortly. So yes, and I found that what kept me going as long as I have is that I kept reinventing myself. And a lot of that had to do with having conversations with people, having conversations with my clients, always reading, always learning about what the latest trends are, and being able to seamlessly shift from one thing to another while still keeping my basic message intact. So fine-tuning it for different, like I'm going to be doing a military engagement in the beginning of September. So a lot of times the information is the same, but you're doing your homework to learn how to tailor it specific. You want to customize things for people. So that's how I've been able to survive. When I worked with SEMA that day, Simon, not SEMA, I did the same thing. I customized things for you. That's why I hung out with all of you for a few days too. You learn.
And it seems like just from what I see on social media, not only have we, formed a friendship and relationship, but you've formed other relationships with other folks from that event as well.
Yes, and it's wonderful. I've seen this. I saw it more recently of an entrepreneurial or business conference in the Philadelphia area. And the speaker came in, and the speaker basically was kicking off in the afternoon and did not come in and mingle with everybody, just came in during the break an hour before to do sound check. And when the program was over, the speaker left, and they were very disappointed. I love hanging out. I love getting to.
Yeah.
I just worked for the Pennsylvania Propane and Gas Association a few weeks ago. Came in the day before. I entered the cornhole contest. I got to know everybody. And, when I was working with all of you last year, I felt like I walked away with expertise on salt and brine. And now I've learned about the difference between the weight of propane and gas. And I just find it fascinating to learn. And I love connecting with people too. So it makes a big difference.
That's awesome. I love that. I think there's so much to learn from that. I want to get back to the 29 years as an entrepreneur. I was going through some statistics the other day with the SBA, Small Business Administration, not with them like one-on-one, but just doing some research on their site. And I was looking at businesses that were over 100 years old. And only 0.5% of businesses have been 100 years or more. So, like the number to be 100 years old is just incredibly low. But the next tracked category that I ran into was businesses over 26 years old. And businesses over 26 years old were only 12% of all businesses were over 26 years old.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So many closures, there's a myriad of different reasons. But the majority of that reason has to do with just closing the business because of unsuccess, of not being successful, not being able to continue the journey. And so I wonder, that statistic just really shouts out to me because, once you get to 15 years in business, only 25% are left. And over that next 9 years, it cuts itself in half, basically. And so I guess for our audience, so many entrepreneurs, so many folks out there, what is the number one thing that you would attribute to being in business for 29 years, being successful in business for 29 years?
My ability to communicate with people and to talk to people and to ask the right questions so I can deliver what they need. And that's what it's all about. If you don't meet people's needs, you're not going to be successful. And you have to be willing. Can I answer two questions?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's my number one. That's what comes first. And the other one is you have to be willing to work hard. And this business is 24/7. People don't understand, for professional speakers, we spend probably 10% of our time on the stage, on the platform, in training sessions, whatever we do, but probably 90% of our time trying to sell ourselves and promote ourselves. And so It takes, it's hard. You're always chasing your next engagement. You're always looking for it. You're always trying to get yourself out there so people know who you are and know what you can bring to the table. And it's getting more competitive. It seemed like during COVID, a lot of people said, I want to be a speaker now. It's way more competitive than it was when I first started doing it. And
everybody wants to be a speaker and a coach.
Yeah. And they think it's easy because they think, they get paid all this money, to get up on stage for an hour. And they don't see all the time that we do researching, developing our programs, practicing, developing websites, developing our messages, reaching out to people, sales. We're in sales. And so that's a lot of my success too. I'm a daughter of a salesman. My dad sold heavy construction equipment. And it was not easy. We had many years where we were struggling. And so, but I watched him and I think I learned from him. And again, I think Tony, my dad, his success was being able to connect with people. Those relationships matter.
I think relationships are critical as well. If you went back 29 years and had to do it all over again, would you do it all over again?
Oh, definitely. definitely. And I never knew, because my journey began. My stepdad unknowingly contracted HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, and passed it on to my mom. And sadly, we lost him in 1990, and we lost my mom in 1995. And because they chose to keep it a secret, we weren't allowed to tell people what was going on. And a week before she died, I got her permission. I asked her permission to speak out so I could educate people about HIV and AIDS and prevent people from going through what my family went through twice. And so she gave me permission with a nod of a head. She wasn't able to speak. And I started immediately speaking. And I didn't ever think that it was going to turn into what it turned into. And you're the silver lining. Ralph, who I just talked to before, all you people are the silver lining of something that was very difficult in my life. The people that I've met, the people that I've been able to touch, I pinch myself moments working with the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball. I would never, ever change it for the world. I might have been able to do some things to make my business maybe smarter and make it more profitable, but I'm also a mom of 2 boys. Well, they're not boys anymore. They're grown up. So I didn't want to take away from that and be greedy and going after lots and lots of money, which I could have done by building a bigger empire, because they were my focus too. And that was important to me. So I don't regret that.
I love that. I love the focus on the family. I think that's huge. I'm interested in your new program. You said health and happiness at the workplace. You mentioned $226 billion is lost per year. Talk to us about this new program that you've rolled out.
It's been well received, and it's not only a keynote, but it's like a workshop too, because what I do is get people to reflect, and I have them take out a piece of paper. I want you to write down, what is your family medical history? What health challenges do you have? What are your goals 5 years, 10 years, 1 year, 5 year, 10 years from now? And who do you want to be here for? And I want people to self-reflect about how important their health is, not only for themselves, but for the people that love them and that they're around. And also to understand that when you're healthy, you're productive, you're happy. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything else. And some of the responses I was getting, one person came in and said, I sat down to write down a whole different set of goals, and I had completely changed it and wrote down something else. And someone else, as simple as it could be, just said, you just made me think. And I said, well, what did I make you think about? And he said, just everything.
Wow.
And so what I cover in this program is the benefits to business, the benefits to your personal life, and talking about the holistic approach, movement throughout the day, even movement when you're at the desk. So doing a lot with movement, diet, mental health, spending time outside, socialization, which we're slowly disconnecting from each other, and we're creating a loneliness epidemic in this country. So it's bringing all that in, and then talking to businesses about how they can incorporate wellness programs to create this culture. Because when people and when employees see that an employer is bringing wellness into the culture, they want to perform better, because then they have created an understanding that the employer cares more about their personal lives as well. And then people want to perform for you.
I saw an interesting statistic, and what it said was that in the 1950s, 1% of Americans were overweight, obese.
Yes.
And in 2024, 40% of Americans were overweight and obese. And in the 50s, it was eggs and, hash browns and burgers and, bacon and all of those things that are so bad for you. And I just found it was an interesting article that just talked about, how Americans today have become so overweight and what that has actually done for health, how that affects our bodies.
Oh,
and we live longer.
Yes, Yes. Well, there's a couple things. Sedentary work has increased by 83% from 1950 to now.
Wow.
So, back in the day, we had a lot more manufacturing. I grew up in a manufacturing town in New Jersey, just outside of New York. And most of the men in my neighborhood, they work the factories. They're walking the floors. They're moving around. Everybody's at a desk and a computer now. There's also some very interesting studies that they're looking at ultra processed foods. And in fact, I just picked up a book called Ultra Processed People. And it's talking about what you were mentioning about the levels of obesity dramatically increasing. And they're adding these chemicals, like you can't even pronounce, the words are this long, you can't even pronounce half the ingredients in the food. And the food industry is creating they are creating these foods and these ingredients to increase cravings and to not make us feel as full after we eat. And so we keep eating more and more and more, especially the junk food. And so we just have to just be like, I don't eat seconds. I've been able to maintain my weight over the years. I don't eat seconds. We eat a very, very clean diet. I've eliminated sugar. Sugar is one of the worst things that you can put in your body, and people get mad at me when I talk about it. But it decreases the immune system. It's very toxic. It feeds cancers. It does so many harmful things to the body.
That's interesting. Along my journey, I broke my ankle. And I was in the doctor's office and just, dealing with some issues because my appendix burst and then I broke my ankle. And so it was like these things were going on. And I was sitting with the doctor and, they take your blood pressure and they say, okay, great. Yeah. Anything going on? And you're talking about what's happening. And all right, well, you're looking good. And I said, okay, great. And I'm putting my socks back on or whatever, and I happen to go in there and I look at the chart, and on the chart the doctor writes, something to the effect of patient is severely obese.
Wow.
And I had to think about the way that made me feel.
And had you ever looked at yourself as that?
No,
before that?
I never had. And I was upset for several reasons. One, he would write it down but not tell me.
Oh, yeah. No,
right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
I didn't like the way that felt. And then two, I didn't like the way that he said, you're looking good. Because in my mind, leaving was like, okay, I'm doing good. I'm healthy. I'm, whatever. But on paper, he's saying this person is obese. And then having to process and think about, why didn't he tell me that? Why wouldn't he share that with me? What was the motivation for that? And then, man, I am obese. You know what? This is unhealthy. And then thinking about the health challenges that came with that. And then how do I get better? How do I fix this?
Right. And a lot of it is discipline. And okay, there's so many things, subtle things that are leading to weight gain. Plates that we served dinner on, 50s, 60s, 70s. And again, you look at Jeff and I, we were watching something about the Freedom March in D.C., Martin Luther King, and hundreds of people were going by the camera. And I said to Jeff, not one person is overweight. And we didn't start to see the weight gain until the 80s. Plates were manufactured to be smaller. And so if you have larger plates, you're going to put more food on it. College cafeterias stopped serving trays or having trays for the students to put their plates on and everything. Back around 2010, we started to see this trend because they found that if you had the tray, you would pile more food on it and around it. And so they cut that back. So there's just so many things that are leading into this. And I think people are they're snacking more and they're snacking on the wrong things. So, was your weight gain gradual over the years?
Yeah, it was gradual, and it got me real good when I broke the ankle, just sitting down, not moving. But I also think something that you said, that kind of resonates is the food that you eat doesn't make you full. They crave more. And my wife and I were talking about this. If she makes a dinner with like steak and vegetables and potatoes or something like that, and you eat what's on your plate, you're full. And
Yes.
and you're going to be full for the rest of the evening. You're not going to think about going back for chips. But the truth of the matter is, if you go to Taco Bell and get a couple of soft tacos and a couple of bean burritos or something more extravagant, and you eat a pile of food, the funny thing is it's like empty, and an hour later you're hungry again and you're going back to snack because it wasn't fulfilling. That it's that kind of that garbage type food that just it doesn't
do anything.
It doesn't fill your body. So I love what you're speaking on. I love how you're reflecting these 1, 5, 10-year plans. I think that's really exciting because I think it is a huge epidemic, and I think it does impact work. And so many people miss work all of the time for so many reasons. I think it does have a huge impact in the business. One of the things that we kind of touched on earlier in the intro was working with NFL, NBA, MLB. Those things seem absolutely amazing. Can you tell us how you got connected to the NFL and what you learned from that experience?
Well, this is a great thing for everybody who's an entrepreneur and wants to keep expanding, or those that want to become entrepreneurs. Be tenacious and don't give up.
Yeah.
And my whole career is based on cold calling. And this is how I built my speaking empire and business. It was just me not being afraid to pick up the phone and saying, hi, this is who I am, and this is what I can do for you. So one day I just said, I want to work for the NFL. And so I figured out a way to find the offices of the administrative offices instead of the ticket sales. And the only person I got on the phone was a gentleman by the name of Charles Way. He's no longer with them, at the New York Giants. He was very polite, very nice, and said, oh, no, thank you. We're okay. We're good. And then I called him the following year. And I didn't bug him. Too many people bug you these days, and it's, they'll send you an email and a day later they're coming back at you again. And so I waited a year. And I knew the cycle of when they would want to bring people in for the rookie training camp. And so I called again. And he goes, well, we'll look at it a little bit. Maybe we'll consider. And nothing happened. Year 3, I call him back. And I said, hey, this is who I am. And then he was talking, and people don't understand this, but the people who are in charge of player development for the NFL and some of these teams, they don't have very large budgets. So people thought I was nuts for doing this. I said, Charles, I'll come in for free. And he goes, all right, we're going to send this off to the team psychologist and have her look at your videos. And she looked at it. She goes, this looks like it's fun. Because as you know, I always do a lot of interactive exercises in my programs where people are getting up and moving around. And they brought me in. And people are like, are you nuts? You went and worked for the Giants for free? I said, yes, but the picture of me with my arm around Odell Beckham is worth $1 million. And you have to look long term. And so because of that, I developed a wonderful relationship with them. And then I waited. And in about 6 months, I became good friends with a team psychologist, and I was mentoring her for speaking. And I said, do you know anybody at the NFL? She said, yes, the person in charge of player development used to work here. Gave me that person's name. Called that person up. They said, submit a proposal. And I did. And I didn't hear from them for 3 weeks. 3 weeks later, I'm sitting in front of my computer, and this email drops in, and I'm like, I don't want to look at it, because I thought they were going to say, no, we don't want you. And they're like, we like this program. Would you come in and meet with us in New York? And that was it. And so then I did training for them. It was the year of the labor lockout. So it was creative. We had to do something for all the teams virtually, and I had to send supplies out to all the teams and whatnot. Then they started bringing me into conferences. So then I picked up 8 other NFL teams. Then I called the NFL. NBA. And little did I know that the NBA all knew Charles at the NFL and loved him. So that gave me credibility right
Wow.
away. And then they brought me in for a couple years in a row to work at their G League teams when they were doing the player spotlight. And then I started reaching out to Major League Baseball teams. And nothing is consistent because what happens, especially in sports, like Tom Conklin, I was with the Giants for 9 years. And then Tom Conklin, when he left the team, the new coach came in and they didn't want to bring me in. And
Right.
so a lot of the people that I have worked with have been fired, just teams roll over, new owners come in. But I've been consistently with the Texas Rangers. So this was my 6th year with them. And it was fun because they just won the World Series. So to come into the training room that I've worked in out in Phoenix, I go down in during spring training, and to see the big mural on the wall, celebrating their win. And they were all just saying it felt surreal. So because I'm part of their family now, so being able to celebrate with them was fun. And I picked up the Pittsburgh Pirates this year. So I pinched myself,
congratulations.
Dave. Oh, it's great. I pinch myself, and I'm tiny. I'm like 5'2", and I weigh like 105 pounds. So I'm around all of these giants, and I love being around these guys. They're so much fun. It's such an honor.
That's an amazing story, and I think a lot of service-based businesses can relate to, hey, the facility manager changed over, or hey, the guy who was in facilities at the building is no longer there and it's a new guy and he's got his own people. Or, I think a lot of us can relate to having a contact, having a relationship. And I think the thing that rings true for me is everything has an expiration date.
Yes.
And so I think kind of what you talked about at the beginning of the show is you always have to be able to pivot. You always have to be able to reinvent yourself. You have to look at the times. You have to look at, what's needed in a marketplace, and you have to be able to develop and grow and build. And, I think that's an important thing.
You have to have the tenacity to hang in there. And I love your term, everything has an expiration date. And you can get sad about it. And sometimes I'm sad when I see the memories coming up on social media that I was with this team or that team. But what I have learned to do is just celebrate the time that I had with it. And I have to move on.
That's right. You have to enjoy the moments. All right. So we're getting close to time, but a couple of things I wanted to touch on. You're a mom, a wife, a business owner, an entrepreneur, a speaker, successful, so many, pinch me moments. I love that term. I mean, I think it's everybody's, everybody loves to hang out with those, sports stars. Amazing. I think that's cool. But raising boys. So you raised 2 boys. I've met one of them.
Yes.
Amazing with the video, creates film, amazing in video on Native Americans. What was it like raising boys, being an entrepreneur, building this business, and watching life go by?
It was fun. It was exciting. It was energizing. My boys were proud of me, and I was always there for them. I never missed important days for them. And in fact, when my business had really picked up, I was lucky because Jeff was working at home. So I knew that somebody with the same values was raising my children, and that was extremely important to me. And they probably liked when I left because I was probably the stricter of the disciplinarians. So get her out of the house. But I said to David, my younger son, they're 2 years apart, and he was about 9 years old, and I said, David, if you ever think that I am away too much, I want you to let me know, and I will gladly cut back. And he looked at me with those big eyes, and he said, no, Mom, you're saving lives. And so, it was amazing. And so I never felt like I slighted them or didn't give them the time that they needed, because when I was home, they had me 100%. And I was always there all summer long, all their vacations, all their holidays. And I never miss those things. Their birthdays.
I love that. I think family is so important. As you know, I'm a big
Yes.
believer in the family,
Yes, you
and
are.
I take them with me for the good or the bad. We
Yeah.
all go together, and
But
it's
that's good. I've met your family. Your kids are wonderful, and I love you, Amy. You've got a wonderful, beautiful family. Um, well, I've taken my kids to a lot of my speaking engagements as well, and it's been good. It's been a great experience.
It's
So,
amazing for them to see what you do. And, it sounds like from everything, you've got some great kids, some great family, so many accomplishments. As we bring this thing in for a landing, what's one piece of advice you could leave with any entrepreneur to help them on their journey?
go after your passion first, and not the money, and the money will follow. If you have the passion for
Man.
something, it's easy. It doesn't feel like work. And you don't mind putting in that extra work to be successful. And just be tenacious. Don't give up on yourself. Believe in yourself. That is so important. And I think you went through those incredible statistics. That's why people fail, because they don't believe in themselves. So just hang in there. Maybe if one thing doesn't work, then shift gears. And we all have to learn to shift gears. And that's how you will be successful.
I love that. That's absolutely fantastic. I think you're an amazing speaker. I love hearing everything that you do and accomplish. I'm honored you've been on our show today. How can people get in touch with you if they're interested in a speaking engagement, a workshop, whatever is going on? How can they reach out to you?
You can reach out to me through my email, Elaine at Elaine Pasqua, that's PASQUA.com. And I'm on LinkedIn also under Elaine Pasqua, CSP. CSP is a designation through National Speaker Association, Certified Speaking Professional. And I don't know, do you give out phone numbers too, or just leave it at the email?
We can do whatever you want, whatever's easiest to get a hold of you.
Well, you can also call me at 215 landline, though we have a landline too, 215-348-5355. So I would love
that.
to work with you.
I love that. And listen, work with her. She's amazing, amazing insights, amazing work with the team. I love this health, this mental health. I don't want to be part of that $226 billion a year that gets lost. Follow her on LinkedIn. She's very active there, got great posts, great information, great content, always coming out. Absolutely wonderful. And if you want to get in touch with me, reach out on LinkedIn. The best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn. Send me a direct message there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and check out the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you like the show, give us a like, give us a share, and drop your comments in the comments box, and we're happy to get back with you and share. Elaine, this has been an amazing show. I've learned so much. Just for the audience, I got a full page of notes. Like I'm sitting here just learning from you. So
I'm honored.
It's been the best. It's been the best part of my day, and I love every minute that I can spend with you. So thank you very much.
I am so glad we met last year at Simon. It was wonderful, and look at the friendship that's developed, and all I've learned from
amazing.
you. It's been amazing. Yeah.
And that's communication, and that's connection, and that's everything that you taught us and spoke about with us today.
You were the very first person who talked to me when I stepped off that stage.
Really?
And yes. You stopped me and you shared your indigenous roots and how it was relating to the topic that I was talking about with perspective. And I just felt this immediate connection when you opened up like that. It was wonderful.
See, that's the way it works. Communication and connection. That's
Don't
an
be afraid to
awesome
talk.
show. You got to be out there and check out everything that Elaine is doing. Follow her on LinkedIn, social media, connect with her, work with her. It'll change your business, change your life. Elaine, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Mike Bott from Frost Solutions, one of the owners of the company. What we do is provide a mini weather station to give you a tailored forecast to those particular locations so you know where and when and what to do in those parts of town. There's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different ways that people can experience tremendous value having a technology like this.
Introducing the all-new Western Enforcer V-Plow. Engineered with all the features, efficiency, and performance of full-size Western V-Plows, built specifically for your half-ton truck. For more information, visit westernplows.com.